2, 3, 4.
We are Movie Menu Reviews, the only podcast you cannot see. On today's episode, we'll be reviewing The Invisible Man. Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Reviews, your weekly movie news and reviews podcast. Woo! Live on Facebook. If you're watching us live, we'd like to say thank you so much. We appreciate it. Or if you're listening to us when we come out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, we appreciate it as well. Joining me today, we have a very special guest, a horror fan, Universal Monster movie fan, and all around badass is a welcome artist, writer, cinephile, William O. Tyler to the show. Thank you so much, William.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. As soon as I knew we were reviewing Invisible Man, I was like, I have to get William on this show.
Yeah, I was excited when you invited me.
Yeah, and not only was it awesome the fact that it was The Invisible Man, but also it was Lee Whannell who directed The Invisible Man, which you also reviewed Upgrade with us, which Lee Whannell did.
Yeah.
So it was like a nice tribute to you coming back. Also joining us today, which is a slight tribute, I guess, is my co-host, Mike Stan.
A tribute to what?
To what you should not be doing in podcasting. I'm just kidding.
Okay, gotcha.
Also joining us is Z. He's invisible. He's around here somewhere.
Yeah, who knows?
So
I don't know.
if weird shit starts happening, it's because Z is invisible.
Good point.
So the first thing I want to discuss, though, before we get into the review, is a very exciting trailer came out this week for Candyman.
Yes.
So I want to go ahead and open a discussion for that. What did you guys think of the trailer for the new Candyman that's produced by Jordan Peele and directed by Nikki DaCosta? What do you guys think?
I'm really hyped for it. Like I've watched it probably like 5 times now. Once in the theater on the big screen before Invisible Man. And every time I see it, I just get more and more hyped for it. I think it's going to be so great.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it as well. And I hope that there's a cameo with Tony Todd, the original Candyman.
He definitely has been open about being a part of the movie. So
yeah,
he's
awesome.
I believe that they say that he is going to have a cameo, but to what extent, we have to wait and find out.
I don't know. I mean, if you watch the trailer closely, you might see him actually in the trailer. I've watched it a few times, so I've picked up a couple things. But
were you guys a huge fan of the original?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was as well.
Yeah, same here.
I actually I know they're so underrated, but I actually like the sequels too. There's 2 sequels. They're not great movies, but they do add to the lore of Candyman. Although this new one is not supposed to, this new one is supposed to be related to the first movie and not the sequels. Because they're doing that a lot with movies these days.
It's like bypassing all the sequels and just like...
Right. Just get rid of the ones that didn't work. What did you guys think about Yaya as the lead in this film? Have you seen Watchmen?
Yes. I actually just finished Watchmen not too long ago, and we just did an episode of Cinephilia on Watchmen. He's a great actor, and I totally see him being able to lead this movie. Like, he's amazing.
He is. I loved Watchmen, and I am excited and happy for everything now that he does. I'm also excited that Jordan Peele wrote this film and producing it, and I mean, I love Jordan Peele's vision on things, so I would love to see how he and how Nikki ends up telling this story. So I'm excited.
Yeah, him as a Jordan Peele's like really on a stride right now, and as a creator, he's doing so well, and all of his movies are just great. And Nia DaCosta, who's directing the movie, I don't know if you've seen her first feature film, because this is only her second movie, only her second feature film. I think she's done television work, but her first feature film is Little Woods, starring Lily James and Tessa Thompson, and it's great.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a great movie. So I already trust her storytelling abilities and everything. I think she's going to do great.
And my bad, I kept it kind of Nikki, but it's Nia. That's right,
Yeah.
Nia DaCosta. So we here are excited. Mike, are you excited for it?
Yes, I am. And I was the very first one scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I did.
and I had like the typical older brother. It's like, go to the mirror. Come on, you can do it. And it's like, no, he's gonna kill me. But it was super fun. It was a super fun horror film. I definitely recommend watching the first if you haven't seen it already.
Totally.
And yeah, I'm pumped to see what they do with this one.
Awesome. Same here. All right. So we say we're excited for Candyman coming out here at Movie Menu Podcast. All right. Let's switch some gears over to go ahead and discuss the movie we are reviewing.
Movie Menu.
So we're reviewing The Invisible Man, directed and written by Lee Whannell, based on the novel by H.G. Wells. Here's the plot. When Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life and leaves her his fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she is being hunted by someone nobody can see. Starring Elizabeth Moss, Oliver Jackson Cohen, Harriet Dyer, Aldous Hodge, Storm Reed, and Michael Dorman. All right. Depending on your spoiler-free review, we shall decide if this movie is worth a dine and watch in theaters, take out way to watch it at home, or leftovers. Invent an invisible suit and avoid this film. William, as our special guest, you have the option of earning a point for wherever you sway. And if you get up to 10 points, you can create a segment on our show of anything you want, movie related, or you could cash it in for like some food paid by Z. So it's totally up to you. Once you're in 10 points, you do whatever you want with them. On that note, let's go ahead and rate this film. William, as our guest, you can go first.
I'm going to say, what is it?
Dine in, yeah. Dine in, watch in theaters.
I'm going to say dine in, watch in theaters.
Nice. Mike?
It's a dine-in for me as well. Watch it in theaters.
It is also a dine-in for me. Watch it in theaters.
Sweet.
So it's unanimously. William, you get the points. Yay!
So what's your new segment going to be on?
Or what food are you going to buy?
Z, what food are you going to buy, Z?
So this is an updated take on, obviously, The Invisible Man. Mm-hmm. Now, how did you feel that the Lee Whannell and his adaptation to modernize it worked for you guys? How did that storytelling, where back in the original story, it was about this man who was a scientist and he turns himself invisible, and in doing so, he ends up burning a couple people by accident, and then he just ends up doing all this chaos. How do you feel like they adapted him to be a stalker ex-boyfriend or onto Elizabeth Moss's character, who's played by Cecilia?
I think they did or Lee Whannell did a great job with this movie. As you said before, I'm a huge Universal Monster fan, so I actually used this, knowing that I was going to be on this podcast, as an excuse to go back and watch some other versions of Invisible Man. So I watched the original Invisible Man. I watched the comedy Memoirs of an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase. And then I watched Hollow Man, the Kevin Bacon version. And the running thread through it all is that Invisible Man is kind of a dick. He's kind of always been like a mean guy. And so I think it was a nice change of pace to modernize it by having a woman be the lead as opposed to the Invisible Man himself be the lead. And so we're saying like, because before, when he's doing all these mean things, we're kind of like going with him because he's the lead character. But now that we're seeing all these mean things happening to someone else, and that person is the lead, we're getting a sense of how like dreadful and awful it really is. So,
and seeing how much of a bad guy the Invisible Man
yes,
really is.
Exactly.
They're supposed to rooting for him as an anti-hero. He is the villain.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, he's a true villain,
Mike.
True villain in this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you guys think? Or Mike, if you want to answer the question.
Sure. And I think they just that they made the story much more personal. So it's less of less of that like absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's more of like what happens if someone who's like this arty villainous character gets even just the amount of havoc he can wreak on this one person's life as he continues to try to possess her, and it was very well done.
Yeah.
Agreed. Now, what did you think about the whole aspect of her being seen as someone who was crazy versus there actually being an invincible man? Because I think the way that Lee Whannell was trying to write it was make it seem like, is there really an invisible man or is there not? But then the trailers came out, we see there is an invisible man. Did you guys would have preferred it if there was no invisible man? It was just all in her mind, or?
I hated the trailer for this movie. Like, the movie's great, and I highly recommend people to go see it, but the trailer for this movie gave way too much away.
Agreed.
But I like the idea. I like the idea that there's some sort of ambiguity as to whether she is actually experiencing what she's claiming that she's experiencing, because then it comes across as a little bit of how PTSD can come across, because she's gone through a very traumatic event, having this boyfriend who's abusive and stuff like that.
Yeah, domestic violence. And so, the way PTSD comes off is, people are still reliving their trauma and experiencing those events, although everyone around them can't really see it. Mm-hmm. So it kind of has that same feel to it. And I like the way that this movie explored that kind of thing, where, even though she may be, I'm trying to talk about the movie without giving spoilers away, even though she may be in a place that is better than where she was before, she still is experiencing the trauma.
Things come back up. Yeah.
And speaking of which, what did you think of Elizabeth Moss's character and how she played Cecilia Cass in this role?
I think she did it was like a one woman show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like if how I imagine it's how it would look when they have actors act against like green screen. It's like, trust me, a monster will be there, and then you go and you just see there's nothing there, but like she's giving it all. Her acting was fantastic. Like I completely believed that something was there all the time, every time, like with every stare she gave with like, and I believed her like every step of the way. Like she carried this movie fantastically, and she's like one of the main reasons why this film worked so well as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like the physicality of it, there were some scenes where it's like, how did they even pull that off with just her? Like, obviously there's some special effects in it, but she pulls off the physicality of acting against nothing being there very well. And then in addition to that, like the emotional acting that she gives, because there are moments in this where she has to be like sad and angry or like various emotions at the same time, and she conveys all of that just through her face. She's great. I've seen her in some other movies where I thought she was not as great, and now I'm totally convinced that it was the director of those movies that didn't, let her do her job, because she totally rocked it in this.
Well, she's had some experience working on that during The Handmaid's Tale.
That's true.
Do you think that was one of the reasons why Lee Whannell cast her, was because of her work in The Handmaid's Tale versus her work on Mad Men, which was she basically played like upcoming feminism in that role? What do you guys think about her experience in Handmaid's Tale and where she came to be in this film? Have you guys watched Handmaid's Tale at all?
I've seen the first season, but I also read the book that it was based on. I haven't seen anything past the first season, but the first season was great. I just haven't had time to go back to it. But yeah, it totally is that whole kind of feeling like you're stuck and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? that whole society where they're just being commanded to act one way, and it's kind of this
misogyny.
Yeah, it's kind of the same way this movie starts, where you can feel that she's been through that same sort of thing, where she doesn't have the freedom to think the way she wants or act the way she wants, and she's trying to escape that, but isn't able to very well because of the circumstances. So yeah, I think Handmaid's Tale totally played a part in prepping her for this.
I agree. I think she was amazing as Cecilia. She does it. She carries this film so well. And another thing that I also enjoy about this film, and I've seen the movie 3 times. The first 10 minutes of the film seems like it could be its own movie within itself.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was awesome to watch.
Could be a fantastic short film.
It could be. And it reminded me of like Inglourious Bastards, where the first 10 minutes of that film was its own movie.
I thought you were going to say Up.
That too, Up as well. And I feel like that strong opening is what because you get so much story without any dialogue, which I really appreciated that. And the way that Lee Whannell and the cinematographer sets up the shots, you see her getting ready to leave, and you see the camera pan to the left, and there's nothing there, and then it pans back to her, and they set you up for this uncomfortableness in the beginning that they do that throughout the film. How did you guys think that they used the camera work, and when they would pan somewhere else and you couldn't see anyone in the shot, but you had a feeling that maybe there's someone there? Because as an audience, we have the camera angles be our eyes to the movie.
Right.
When there's nothing there, we assume because the camera is showing it, there must be something important for us to see. But we don't know that because this person's invisible. So how do you feel like they use that as a trick or to get suspense out of us?
I think it's brilliant because that kind of camera work is a trope for horror movies in general, where the camera will be positioned in a way where your figure is on one side because it's trying to get you to expect something to pop out from the other side. And so usually when horror movies use that kind of thing, it's because something's going to enter into the frame and be there. And for this, for them to leave it blank just makes it all the more eerie because it's not actually blank. There actually
you feel like someone's
may or may
you.
not be someone there. So it just makes it even more intense because of that. It's a little creepier because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciated it too. I appreciated that they just leave it up to you. It's like I don't know. Is there something there? Is there? And then you're like, I don't know. What's supposed to happen? I guess nothing. But then so the camera, you see nothing. But then you see her. You see how she responds, and you're like she senses something. Like what is it that she's sensing? And so her acting kind of like feeds into it and feeds into the tenseness of it, and it continues to build to the point where I never felt like from the beginning I never felt like maybe she was crazy. Like I felt like it did kind of establish early on that I mean. We already know, based on the trailers, that I agree with you there too, that the trailers do kind of ruin a lot of things. Yeah. But I do appreciate too that there were clips in the trailers that I think were overdoing it a little bit that ended up not being in the film.
Yeah, there's one specific thing in the trailer that I remember not showing up at all in the film.
Yeah,
there's actually quite a few of things.
Yeah, there are 3 in particular that I can remember. I'm sure there's more, but the 3 that stand out to me is like the exhaling when she's standing on the porch. You see an extended version of that in the trailer, and then in that's not. I guess that's not really ruining it. That's the beginning.
No, I mean they do have a small version of that in the film.
Yeah, that does happen, but you're right. In the trailer, it's longer.
Yeah, and like in the trailer, you hear someone else's breathing. In the film, it's more subtle than that. And then you also see a scene of
The shower.
yeah, you see a scene of a handprint with the shower and
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
And-
That's
and then-
yeah.
Which is funny because that's used for all the marketing, and it's not. In
yeah,
the
that hand. Yeah.
and I'm so glad that it's not, because I think it would have been a terrible scene. I would have been like, I don't know, like, especially if there would have been like jump scare music with it. Like, I'm just thankful that wasn't there. That wasn't a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think there were a lot of really smart editing decisions where they allow it time to build. Like in the the tension built from Elizabeth Moss, like all of it, and which is like the perfect seed for that tension because of how well she acts.
Yeah. I love the pace of this movie is totally great. And it is set even by the opening credits, where it's just like the waves coming up and crashing and then falling on the invisible letters of the title.
Yeah, I love that opening sequence.
That happens like 3 times, and it's just like a slow, and it kind of gets you prepared for what kind of movie this is, and it's really cool.
And I also enjoyed Lee Whannell's direction in the sense that, like, for Upgrade, he wasn't afraid to let the camera be in the scene even longer than normal, like in the fights. And in this film, the camera itself, when there's fights going on, I'm not going to say who with what, but when there's a fight scene going on, he lets the camera not have to cut between fights. You see it continuous fight, like it was choreographed into one fight scene, and it was really amazing to watch these fights go on. I thought that was so badass.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, the cinematography in this is great, and it kind of jumps from a few different styles. Like there's the long holds that just kind of build the atmosphere for the movie, but then there's also there's one scene where Elizabeth Moss's character faints, and there's a great camera attached to her that falls over with her when she faints. And
there's also like a cop falls over as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
Well, it's funny because I saw another movie recently that used that same shot a lot in trying to build its world, and it used it so much that it was just ineffective, and I kind of hated it. But this shows the proper way to use it, where it comes out of nowhere, and so it's very disorienting. So you feel what she's feeling or what the cop is feeling, and then the other way that that the cinematography is great is when the movie gets a little more scientific at points, and in that specific fight scene that you're talking about, where it's kind of a little more scientific, the camera, instead of having these sweep cinematography shots, the camera is more of a it'll move and have a hard stop and then turn, and so the camera actually mimics the scientific stuff that's happening in the scene. So it's just great how the cinematographer worked with Lee to get those feelings across through just the shots.
Yeah, it's the same cinematographer from Upgrade, so I guess that totally makes sense.
It makes sense.
Talk about how everyone else in the cast, like Storm Reed, Aldous Hodge, how were your reactions to their roles as well?
I thought everyone did great. No one took me out of the movie. Everyone was really strong in what they were trying to do. I love that because we know the movie opens with her, escaping, trying to leave this guy who's been abusive to her. So that's established at the very beginning of the movie that she's had, this bad experience. But I love that the movie also has this other strong male character, and it's not a relationship; it's a completely platonic friendship. But it shows, how men can rightfully treat women and be nice to them, and there's a
positive reinforcement,
right? But there's a specific, because we know that she's come out of a negative fighting environment where she's been fighting with her boyfriend or whatever, and there's a small little scene in it where she's with this other guy and his daughter, and it's a positive atmosphere, and they have a little play fight, and I think it's just so amazing that they show someone who's been through something as traumatic as she's been through can still have these positive experiences because they come from a place of helpfulness or hopefulness or consent or all of those things that need to come together to make someone who's been through something like that thrive better.
I also enjoyed the fact that they had given her a daughter to show what a positive impact he's had on this girl's life, and how comfortable we are with him being with her, and after the traumatic experience she's had. I thought that was very smart.
Yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. And it's a good counter to everything that's happening, and so like so there's some balance within it. But yeah, I think I agree for the most part. It was a solid cast, but I feel like the one who should stand out the most was Elizabeth Moss, which she
definitely,
did.
yeah.
So because of that, like I got no complaints. And like I know we're talking about the other cast, but I like how she as it goes on, how she continues to devolve. It kind of like is reminiscent of like, I mean, we were talking about Candyman earlier. Like there are scenes in like the first Candyman very similar, or you could think of like Terminator 2 as well. So without giving too much away, but
and what do you think about this launch or this because this is Universal and Blumhouse. I think it's one of their first movies that they're working on with the Universal Monsters type.
Are they doing a whole series?
I think they're waiting to see how this came out, because the Dark Universe didn't do so well,
right?
And I think they were wanting to see how Blumhouse was going to handle it. How do you think if this was the launching point into the Dark Universe or the new Universal Monsters? Do you think this was the way it should go as opposed to the Mummy?
Well, definitely not the Mummy. Not Tom Cruise Mummy. Nothing should go that way. That's a hard question because I feel like this is
contained.
Not necessarily contained because without giving spoilers, I could see how this could be. There could be a sequel. There could be an invisible character sequel that could be really cool. But as far as connecting it to other Universal monster movies, I'm not sure if that would be the way to go because this is such this take on the Invisible Man and this character is so much more serious than we've gotten before that I feel like putting it with something like Dracula or Wolfman would kind of take that seriousness away from it. I think this movie has a very important message, especially for right now with what women are going through and Me Too, #Me Too and all that stuff, that I feel like if they added the other if they added the other monstery elements to it, then it would kind of take away from that. Yeah. So I kind of would not want them to, if there was another like invisible character, then that would be cool. Spinning off from this, but I don't see how crossing over with Frankenstein or someone like that would work.
Well, what if they utilize that in the same sense where it's all scientific as opposed to being mythology?
It could be cool. I mean, they would have to really work hard at that and get it right, and I think the odds are stacked against them to do that. But I mean, it's possible. They could. It's possible.
What about you, Mike? What do you think?
I think just these one-off standalones are the best. Like let each movie be like self-contained in its own world. But
we need an Avengers version,
please. No. treat it the same way as like a Black Mirror episode. Like it's just this one-off thing that's super cool. It's awesome. You get to love it, enjoy it. Now it's over. Now let's see what they do next. But don't tie them in. Don't try to there's so much that could be explored and done that like creating these universes can't do. Right. And I think and I like how to me it was kind of like more of a personal storyline and it was smaller. Smaller cast, smaller story, smaller characters, but it was impactful. Unfortunately, I don't know how well it's doing at the box office at the moment, but last I checked, I know that it was kind of pretty low, unfortunately. And
that sucks.
And I do hope that more people go and watch this film as it deserves.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely deserves more support. I know I'm done bashing other horror films that have come out recently, but
I'm not.
but if you're staring at the marquee and you're like, maybe I'll see Brahms the Boy too. No, see this.
Watch Invisible Man.
Yes.
I would highly recommend to do so. What did you guys think about according to Elizabeth Moss's character and what she went through, how do you guys feel that the Invisible Man acted? I'm just kidding.
He acted fantastic. All the expressions he had.
He was amazing.
I was like, man.
No, talk about because would you consider this? I mean, it's a psychological thriller, horror,
sci-fi as well.
Were you guys uneasy, scared while watching this film? And there, for me, I know there's a moment in the movie which was completely shocking. Were you guys also shocked in the sense?
I think I know what you're talking about, and it came as a surprise, so I was shocked. But I've watched too many movies to actually be scared from movies. That's always a question that people ask, and I'm just like, I can't tell you what scares me because I don't get scared by movies. I'm too invested in how movies are made and stuff like that. But I will say that when that moment happened, I got very frustrated because I'm on, Elizabeth Moss's side. Right. So when that happens, I'm like, oh, what the? Like, I'm trying not to curse, but it's.
Oh, you can curse.
I literally was like, what the fuck? Like, why is this happening? And so you begin to feel like exactly how she feels in that situation. You're just frustrated, like everything she tries just goes wrong. So I was very, very emotionally upset, if that counts as scared.
It was great to hear like the audience reaction to things.
It was.
Well. So like if you see this, it's definitely a more fun watch like in a full theater if you get a chance to watch it in a full theater. So and just to hear like all the responses and I for me I don't think it was really scary. I would say it's definitely like more of like a sci-fi suspense thriller, I guess, than a horror
than
film.
An outright horror, yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it, and I would much rather get like a good version of that, which I got, than a terrible horror film. So
I love that because horror movies today just kind of throw out stingers, like they have those sound stingers that make you jump more so than what's actually happening. And this movie doesn't have that. There's one stinger that I can think of in the whole movie. And even that was just like, okay, that worked. That was cool. Yeah. But otherwise it's more about building atmosphere, and tension. And there's not a lot of
burn.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like things jumping out at you. But if you're just sitting back and watching you got to watch the entire frame because there are things happening or maybe not happening. And you just pick up clues and you get an idea of what's happening without having, all those jump scares.
Agreed. So we have a comment. Heather McLean. Hey, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
She asked, how does this movie compare to the vibe of What Lies Beneath?
Oh, interesting. It's got a similar vibe to What Lies Beneath.
It does.
And I love What Lies Beneath, so it's kind of cool that you brought that up.
Yeah, me too. Great comparison. It's actually a really good atmospheric film similar to What Lies Beneath. Very creepy, very suspenseful.
I feel like this is, like I said already, this movie is a little more frustrating than that one. Just because we're in the midst of it with her. Like it's literally going on around her right now, as opposed to, figuring out some things that were happening in someone's past, which is kind of what is going on in What Lies Beneath. But yeah, it's such a frustrating movie, and again, a good way. It's supposed to be.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, not frustrating because it's like like that was terrible, but
No.
more of like because of the suspense building. It's like, oh my god, now that happens.
Yes.
Now this happens. Jesus.
Did you see What Lies Beneath, Mike?
I didn't. I haven't seen it, but I couldn't. Yeah, no. I was gonna try to take a stab at it. Like, is it with this actor? I was like, it's gonna.
It's with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
Okay, then I never saw it, but I know the story and the plot line. But you know what? I'm gonna watch it now. Now that you guys have been talking about it.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
And they're such strong actors that if they have great chemistry. It's good to see the two of them together.
Would that be like a good double feature to watch like The Invisible Man and then watch What Lies Beneath? Like at home?
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to find.
Dan's listening to The Invisible Man. He's like, uh-huh.
Yeah, Z's talking to me right now. So, is there any other items that you guys wanted to discuss about the Invisible One that you guys caught? Because like William, you mentioned about the opening sequence, which was really cool with the invisible letters as the waves crash through.
Yeah, that was cool.
And like I had mentioned before, there's a lot of like stills of cameras. Like there's a moment where she's cooking and the camera just stays there. Mm-hmm. Any other things that popped out to you while watching this film?
You know, having just watched the other Invisible Man movies, the Invisible Man movies are usually very, very special effects heavy. Like the original Invisible Man.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
The original Invisible Man was like groundbreaking for special effects. It was like the first time that they had used like, I'm quoting for you guys who can't see me, quote unquote green screen, because it wasn't green then. They used black velvet to kind of give that same appearance of having things taken out of the frame later on. And so it was like groundbreaking in that kind of thing. And then we get to this movie, and there are special effects in it, but it's not special effects heavy at all.
Yeah, and I think some of it is also it seemed practical.
Yeah, there's a lot of practical,
which I appreciated too. That was really cool. I love when they do practical effects.
But it's nice that they didn't have to rely on it because the story is so strong that you know these things can come across just through acting and editing and setting up shots and the special effects like the CG or whatever computer effects are in the movie is very little, but they're done wisely, so they don't take you out of it. Like they fit, they look good, and so I just find it interesting that a franchise that is so known for all these special effects, and they could pull it off without so many. I think it's just a great job.
That's completely right.
And
Mike,
there was a little more action, both action and gore that I expected, that I really enjoyed. I was like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting so much of that to be happening, but that's cool. All right.
This says a lot about you, though, Mike.
What's that?
This says a lot about you.
Okay.
You like the gore. We do have another comment by Dustin Travis Glasgow.
Hey, Dustin. That's a friend of mine.
Oh, welcome. He asked, I thought Upgrade was such a pleasant surprise. Having not seen the Invisible Man, would you say that Lee Whannell is growing as a filmmaker?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, most definitely. I enjoyed Upgrade. I mean, I did, Upgrade with these guys, so you should go back and watch that. I'm sure it's in the archives.
It is.
To get our opinions of that. But I definitely see him as a growing filmmaker. I feel like he's figuring out the kind of stories that he likes to tell, and what he's really good at, and figuring out how to use them to the best of his advantage, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny because he used to be writing partners with James Wan. They created the Saw franchise together.
Yeah, I think he directed
and Insidious.
Insidious. He did part 3, right?
He directed part 3, and that was his first directing. And since James Bond ended up blowing up and starts directing, now he's directing like all these blockbuster films. He was like, well, I guess I'll start directing because, I don't have another director to write my stuff with. Oh. So he did Insidious Chapter 3, and then he moved on to do Upgrade. Yeah, and he's definitely growing as a visionary director.
Lined up for Escape for New York, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
If I'm not mistaken, it will need a double check. But.
Well, if you look at Insidious 3 compared to Invisible Man, there's a big
jump and leap.
There's a lot of growth there. Invisible Man is much better than in Insidious 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely getting better and better.
And I think it's also, I wonder who the cinematographer was on the Insidious 3, because once he got with the cinematographer for Upgrade, I just feel like their collaboration works so well with each other.
It's a good match.
It's a great aesthetic for each other. And it's, I really enjoyed also how he works with actors, because Upgrade itself is like a one-person story mainly, and The Invisible Man itself is also like a one component of an actor, Elizabeth Moss's character and her story.
Yeah.
So I think he should continue with the one-person stories. What did you guys think about the music? Because
the music was great.
There was not a lot of vision stuff with the Invisible Man, because, you know, like we had mentioned, the cameras they linger, they stay there, and there's music that has to fill those voids of less vision and less nothing there. So what did you guys think about how the composer, the score of this film was?
That's actually a great way to put it, that the music served its purpose of filling the void that was there, because that's exactly what it did. Like, if you have scenes of Elizabeth Moss just looking around, and I mean, she's doing it great, she's conveying all the emotion she needs, but it's just her looking at, you know, an empty space, then the music kind of does help to convey what's going on in her mind and also what's going on in the space.
Wait, let's all be quiet and look at the camera and just see if we have the same impact. That's great podcasting, by the way. Go on, continue.
People listening are like, what's happening?
Go on.
Yeah, the music for this was really great, and there are moments where the music is really quiet, and it always suits the atmosphere that's happening in the scene. But there are also moments where it just gets really grand, and that in itself is conveying an emotion of a character. Like I'm thinking specifically, I'm not giving it away, but at the very end of the movie, there's an orchestra swell where it just gets loud and loud, and it's kind of amazing, and what it represents is amazing, and it's just it's a good soundtrack.
Agreed. I love that. I love that whole section as well.
Yeah, once once the score began in the first like 10 minutes of the film, like there's like the first minute or two, I was like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like this like bassy, like synthy kind of, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
But it's music. It's underscored music, but it also just kind of feels like atmosphere, like it just is creating what the world would sound like and what's happening, especially if we're going through all of this with Elizabeth Moss, kind of like what her headspace is like is kind of what the music sounds like. Yeah. So it's great in that way.
Oh, the composer also did It Chapter 2, Shazam.
What was the name of the composer again?
His name is Benjamin Wallfish.
Nice name.
So, yeah, he's not a stranger to horror films or suspense films.
Cool.
All right. Any final thoughts about The Invisible Man before we close?
Well, I'm upset to hear it's not doing that well, so definitely go out and see it. I think it's definitely worth seeing.
Right now, it's looking to make $29 million in North America.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I guess on its budget, which I'll find out.
Yeah, its budget is $7 million.
Oh, good job. Which I guess is not too bad, but it could have gone higher.
Oh, that's great.
It deserves to go higher.
No, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that too.
Yeah, it was, I think as of, if I'm not mistaken, as of like Saturday, it was like less than 2 million. So I was like, oh no.
But, oh wow. Okay, yeah, so yeah, it's looking to be number 1 this weekend.
Oh, that's perfect. All right, awesome.
But still, go see it if you haven't.
Yeah,
we highly recommend to go see this film.
I have to say, like, because I go to the movies all the time, and I keep a list of like what the top movies. Like throughout the year, I keep a list of like my rankings of the movies. So whenever I see a new movie, a new 2020 movie, I choose where it's going to go. So far, Invisible Man is my favorite, is my top movie of 2020.
Which is a great question. Do you feel like this film would have been better suited for the summer release or a fall release?
No, because that's when Candyman's coming out. It can't compete against Candyman. I'm sorry,
that's a good point.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. It's good. It's good because I don't think there's like, I know this is categorized as horror, and it's like, it's kind of like dipping into multiple genres, but like I think it's standing out right now for sure.
I think that the beginning of the year is becoming over the past few years a good spot for horrors that are not typical horror movies. Like that's when The Witch came out,
Right.
And so we get other movies that are movies that audiences might be skeptical of, and that's kind of what this movie is. It's a great movie, but it's not your typical horror movie. So I think that this is a good spot for it because it doesn't have to compete. It can just breathe on its own and be good
and thrive.
Yeah.
Which is funny though, because like Fantasy Island came out this month, Brahms The Boy 2, and now The Invisible Man ended February. Which obviously The Invisible Man wins because that is a much better movie. However, what do you guys think about Elizabeth Moss? You know how last year there were people talking about Lupita Nyong'o trying to get an Oscar nomination for her role in Us. Do you think people are going to vie for Elizabeth Moss trying to get some type of award love this year because of her performance?
I think she's definitely on that level. I think she could easily be awarded or at least nominated for this performance. But if we're talking about the Oscars, then I'm not going to count on it because the Oscars don't like horror movies.
They don't.
And
those bastards.
You know, the Oscars are so like they award for more than just what they're actually saying that they're awarding you for. So, for example, like Guillermo del Toro winning Shape of Water, that was a huge thing for like monster movies.
It was.
And for horror movies. And I feel like now that they kind of got that out of the way, they're like, we already did our little horror part, so we're going to take some years off.
Right.
It's the same way when
Return of the King won.
Or when Moonlight won, that was such a big thing for black movies and
Right.
gay movies
Yeah.
that they took a little bit of, I mean, they gave Green Book an award after that, but other than that, they haven't really done anything for like more diverse movies. So it's kind of like they already did their little horror thing with Shape of Water. So now they're going to take a few years off from horror, and they're not going to, I don't expect anything from the Academy anymore.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm hoping though that because they have invited such a larger brand of diverse actors, directors, writers into the Academy, that somehow I'll shape it up. But so far, it's just not looking that great.
Yeah, I don't think they'll nominate her. No, I don't think that's going to happen.
But there are plenty of other awards aside from the Oscars that she could get, and she'd be deserving. We'll see what else happens this year, but she's towards the top right now.
Right, yeah. So far, this is my favorite movie of the year so far. So we have a couple of comments as well. Kenneth Taylor says, "Hi guys, unfortunately I haven't seen The Invisible Man."
Hey.
It's okay. We highly recommend that you should though.
Yeah, we haven't spoiled it, but
Yeah.
definitely check it out. It's worth it. It's really good.
Well, Heather mentioned that. Well, it's hard to see the Invisible Man because he's invisible. Yeah, that's why Z's not here, or Z is here. He's invisible.
Yeah.
He's causing a ruckus. You just can't see him.
Yeah.
I do think that referring to this movie as the Invisible Man movie is misleading because it's the Elizabeth Moss movie.
It is.
So definitely go see Elizabeth Moss. And maybe you won't see the Invisible Man.
But you'll definitely see Elizabeth Moss.
I love that they actually put her in the lead, though. Like, we don't even get all the backstory of the Invisible Man. We don't. It's all about her, and I think that's such a great twist for this franchise.
Agreed. I really like that the way they handled that story, where they put her as the focus of, which is funny though, because for us, in the sense, it gives us like a weird like voyeurism to watching her as well as audience. Like we're like the Invisible Man watching her unravel in this story. So I kind of like that aspect as well of it. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a voyeur.
That's a good point.
Any last thoughts, gentlemen, before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's good.
All right, so
I think so.
So thank you so much, Willem. So we go ahead and we give The Invisible Man a dine-in, watch it in theaters.
Yes, definitely.
So thank you so much, Willem, for being on the show. If at this point, if you could to let everyone know a little bit about yourself, where they can find you, where they can watch all your works, and where they can just stalk you like the Invisible Man.
If you're interested in stalking me, then definitely check out williamotyler.com. That's where all my I post all my art and writings and movie reviews and stuff, and also there's a link to my Patreon there. Support. I would greatly appreciate it. I also host Cinephilia, which is a movie talk show, kind of like this one.
Just with a higher budget.
I don't know about that. But we host, my co-host and I, Art Vega, host Cinephilia every Monday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on Perception Studios Twitch channel. So it's also live like this one, and you guys can come join in on a chat. And it's on a different day and time than this one, so you can actually watch both. And yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome.
Right.
So make sure to check out William's website and everything he does, because everything he does is pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much, Mike, for co-hosting.
Yeah,
as always.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you, Dan. I wanted to mention one more thing, though. Happy birthday, Rigo.
Oh, that's right.
Happy birthday.
Our special correspondent, Rigo Espinosa, as you may remember him, he was here for the Sonic review. It's his birthday. So happy birthday, Rigo.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that. Moving on. So thank you so much for watching us on Facebook. If you did, we greatly appreciate it. Or if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, thank you. We appreciate it so much. If you could do us a favor and please like, comment, rate, and review, and let us know what you think of The Invisible Man as well. If you enjoyed it, if you agree or disagree, let us know why. We'd love to hear from you guys. Also, check out our website at moviemenupodcast.com. You can follow us on social media, Facebook's, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We are all over the spectrum. Subscribe to us, and we would greatly love you forever, I promise. Until next time, guys, I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, here with William Tyler and Mike Stand, and we say goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you later.
3, 4.